Here it comes. Oh yeah. It's already starting. Turn, turn, turn. Oh.
What winch?
Just don't worry about it and don't walk around.
We're Chris and Sandra. In 2022, we bought a boat we named Bataway. On a foggy May morning, we said goodbye to Port Dover and headed down Lake Erie through the Welland Canal and on to Lake Ontario. We had a summer of fun boat projects and explored Lake Ontario and the famous Canadian Heritage Canal System, the Trent Severn Waterway. We met some great people and saw amazing sights in beautiful Ontario. We've got plans to overhaul the interior of Bataway in the spring, so join two not-so-young kids as we dive headfirst into our 2023 adventure. Stepping onto Mackinac Island is truly like stepping back in time. Cars have been banned for more than 100 years, so the horse and buggy is king. The only way to get to the island is by personal boat or the commercial ferries. There are a lot of horses, and fudge, and bicycles, and more horses, which to my farm girl's eye were very healthy and seemed to be treated well. Did I say there was lots of fudge? Even Amazon delivers by horse and buggy on Mackinac Island. On a busy day, the bicycles outnumber the people, and it's possible to take slow walks and smell the flowers. Although Mackinac Island is known as Michigan's Victorian Island Getaway, there are actually 450 full-time residents. They live in beautiful homes all over the island. It's hard not to peer over the fences and check out these architectural masterpieces. Just like it turned its back on modern conveyances, the island allows no hotel chains. Each cottage, Airbnb, or hotel is small and mostly family-owned. One of the exceptions is the opulent Grand Hotel, which is owned by a partnership. A quick search of prices of all the exquisite downtown accommodations on Mackinac Island returned rates between $300 and $800 a night. On our first day on the island, we simply wandered around and got the lay of the land. We decided to wait a day to tour the fort. There are a few exhibits that you can see without paying for access to the fort. We walked up the steep hill beside it and enjoyed the panoramic view on the way up. Once we were up behind the fort, we continued east along a botanical trail. We ended up on the bluffs overlooking Lake Huron and the famous arch opening in the cliff. There are lots of restaurants and cafes on the island, so we enjoyed a mid-afternoon espresso on our way back to Bataway. And one of several churches on Mackinac Island. After dinner, we took a walk down the ferry terminal and got a rare perspective of that away from a distance.
In the morning, we climbed the hill and took in the impressive view. The British originally established a garrison on Mackinac Island and built the fort on this hill in 1780 to protect the lucrative fur trade during the American Revolution. The fort was handed over to the United States at the end of this war, and America upgraded and garrisoned the fort until 1812. At the outset of the War of 1812, the British retook the fort and held it until the end of the war. As part of the peace agreement ending this conflict, America repossessed the fort in 1814. I don't talk much about the fact that the British built this fort. The military significance of the fort faded along with the fur trade, and in 1895, the fort was closed. The fort is now a reminder to the tourists visiting Mackinac Island of the reality of military life in the 19th century.
What was most interesting to me at the fort was how everyone lived daily. How the quartermaster distributed supplies among all the people living at the fort. How the soldiers lived daily, their barracks, and the Spartan nature of their quarters. And a glimpse at how some of the officers' families lived, which was some degree above the soldier's life. The mystery of how fudge became so prevalent on the island was demonstrated here during a tour of one of the exhibits at the fort. Mackinac Island also houses Governor Gretchen Whitmer's summer residence. This beautiful home is open for tours on Wednesdays. Probably the best part of the fort tour was watching the cannon being fired. There were so many kids that had gathered to see this happen, but I'll just let Jacob explain what's happening here.
Good morning. My name is Jacob, this is Ethan, and in just a second we're going to fire this cannon for you. Before we do that, just going to give you a little background, a little bit of history, what the soldiers were dressed as, what the soldiers did here at Fort Mackinac, and then a little bit about the cannon itself. So to begin with, we're both currently wearing the dress uniform of the U.S. Army in the 1880s, and in particular we're members of the 23rd Infantry. Now, two companies of the 23rd Infantry, companies E and K, were stationed here at Fort Mackinac from 1884 to 1890. While the 23rd E and K was stationed here, they're serving as a rather unique role, serving as caretakers for America's second national park, which is located here on the island. But unfortunately for the soldiers at Fort Mackinac, instead of working in the national park, building trails, staircases, railings, things like that, they had a lot of soldierly duties that took up most of their time. Instead of, again, working in that park, they're doing drill out on the parade ground for about 2 hours every single day. They're doing fatigue duty, so that's 6 to 8 hours of manual labor every day. They're doing target practice, they're doing guard duty, and they're firing the cannon in the form of salute shot. Now, salute shot is all powder, no cannonball. Believe it or not, much like today, tourists back in the 1880s didn't like dodging cannonballs on their trips to Mackinac Island. They're not firing cannonballs out of these cannons. They're taking loud bangs to celebrate events. Now, every day, soldiers here at Fort Mackinac would fire the cannon twice. Once in the morning at the raising of the flag, and then once in the evening at the lowering of the flag to signal the beginning and the end of their workday. And the salute shots are very integral to the culture here on Mackinac Island. In 1887, the War Department actually cancels these salute shots across the country. It's too much of a cost issue for the War Department. And it kind of creates a little bit of an outrage here. People on the island use these salute shots to set their watches, set their clocks every day. So local newspapers were flooded with complaints. The Commandant of the Post, Captain Greenleaf Goodale, wrote letters to the War Department asking them to reinstate the salute shots. By 1888, salute shots were reinstated across the country, and it's just because of so many protests amongst people across the country. Our last step is to attach our lanyard, which is my time to remind you, this is a cannon, it's going to be loud. advise you either cover your ears or keep your cameras out, whatever your priorities might be. With that, there are 2 commands left to give. They are ready, fire!
We're at the Grand Hotel, and in the background you can see, well, you might not be able to see the Mackinac Bridge, which, if everything goes according to plan, will go underneath tomorrow.
We couldn't leave the island without walking west to the famous Grand Hotel. It first welcomed guests in 1887 as a summer retreat. Vacationers came to Michigan by train and then over to the island via a steamer and boat. This hotel exudes old world hospitality and charm.
Who's winning? Looks like it. Not a bad view for dinner.
It's pretty nice.
I meant you.
Boaters make a big deal about crossing under the Mackinac Bridge. There's good reason for the excitement. Not only is it the symbolic and arguably physical point where we cross from Lake Huron to Lake Michigan, this bridge is an engineering marvel. It's the 5th largest suspension bridge in the world, and it opened in 1957. The total length of the bridge is 5 miles. At 50 miles an hour, this bridge takes 6 minutes to cross. If you Google the bridge, you'll find a plethora of facts about it. The most interesting one I found was that it contains more than 1 million steel bolts, but who's counting?
Just look at the skirt, right?
That big boat just went by and it's going to take a few minutes, but we're going to get really waked by it. It's that 82-footer, we think. Here it comes. Oh yeah. It's already starting. Turn, turn, turn. Oh,
What went?
just don't worry about it and don't walk around. It's this is why we don't have glasses. I left it up there and I wasn't thinking. What was his name?
That's easily like a 3 to 4 foot wait.
Are we good for a few minutes? I gotta clean this up. I'm gonna put my shoes on when I do it.
We started life on the boat last year with 6 glasses from our Toronto apartment. Yeah, there's tiny little pieces of glass. I just cut myself. one that crashed today was the second to last one on the boat, and we'd been meaning to replace them with either stainless steel or plastic. This was the most spectacular breaking of it though, and it didn't just break into big pieces but in tiny little slivers everywhere. I was pretty mad at that stupid boat.
I don't know, it's not very thoughtful. I don't know what else to say. The wake is probably 4 feet, and it's kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is.
Pretty sure that was the one that was docked a few over from us on the private dock.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
It's pretty, it looked very similar. Hard to say.
I'm not sure if it's the same as the one
I think it was the Nikki D. That's what came up on AIS. That's not there anymore.
And in all the excitement of getting here and not having the marina answer our hail on channel 16, getting in and getting docked, I forgot to turn the camera on. But we're here at the marina and we're going to have showers, get cleaned up, do a little exercise, go to work a bit more, and then we will meet up with some friends and see what's what. When we arrived in Petoskey, we kind of knew that bad weather was on the way, so we were determined to make the most of our stay there. First on the agenda was to get out and get lots of exercise, so we started on the amazing hiking trails right in the city.
What was this called? The North Trail?
I'm not sure, but this is the Bear River, Bear Creek.
That's 701. That's 702.
Stop 702. Bear River Water Power. Government surveyors in August of 1840, while laying out townships and sections in the area, noted that a creek in this township, after flowing through the swamp, passes over a limestone bed between high banks and rushes like a mountain torrent into the lake, affording the very finest of mill sites. The creek was not given a name at this time, but was known by the local Native Americans in the area as Muggasabing, meaning where the bear walks. In 1857, the river and small settlement units banks were identified by the U.S. Post Office as Bear River. In 1885.
Oh, I can hear them now.
Yeah.
Might be choir practice.
Tuesday at 6 p.m. It's a mass. That's what we heard.
Home, sweet home. Oh, it's a little stuffy in here.
No.
Bit messy. Thanks for joining us this week as we make our way down Lake Michigan.
If you haven't, please subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and leave a question or comment. If you haven't already, search us out on Facebook and Instagram under Go That Away. See you next time. So this just picked up incredibly. I'm wondering if we shouldn't just go to shore for a little bit now that the boat's secured.